Good afternoon, Vlogalogue. First off, the reports of my death have been greatly exaggerated. And what I mean by that is I'm currently taking a brief hiatus from my main channel. I'm not making videos quite every day, just due to scheduling and timing issues for a little while. But I'm still here on Vlogalogue. I'm not going anywhere, so let's talk. First, of course, let's walk away from these cars because I don't really like cars. And let's face the microphone this way and walk backwards. Okay, so on the topic of our future, how is technology going to be integrated? Are we going to have like Google Glass and Super Google Glass eventually? Are we going to have like robots that live in our mind and control everything that we see? Are we going to have like brain caps and live in the Matrix? How is it all going to play out? If I knew, I wouldn't be telling you. I'd be making millions of dollars off it, but I can speculate. And by the way, if you hadn't noticed, I'm trying something a little bit different for this video. I'm not just sitting inside and talking about an issue. I decided I'd wander around this lovely place we call the outdoors because I think it's an integral part of this discussion. I think it's an integral part of this discussion because you and I were born here. I mean, I'm assuming not literally. You may have been born here outside in the middle of Worcester, Massachusetts, but I highly doubt it. I mean, the human race was collectively born here, out in the middle of nowhere, and we came into existence and we learned to use tools such as hammers and arrows and flint and steel and stuff like that, and we bettered our position. And that is what technology is. It is tools that better our position. So when we consider what tools we want in the future and how we experience the future, we have to be very considerate of how they make us better, or if the compromises are worth it. And though I may not always show it, I am a huge fan of places like this, out in the middle of nowhere, because it's part of where we came from. It's part of who we were, and I'm not sure I'm ready to lose that. Which is why I find the concept of an all-inclusive, you live your entire life in it, virtual reality, a bit disconcerting. That would be something like The Matrix, or even The Oasis from Ready Player One, which you haven't read, was recommended to me by Kevin and DK, and it's a really good book. You can even get the audiobook if you don't like reading. It's read by Will Wheaton, which is always entertaining. I read the book and then listened to the audiobook because I wanted to hear what Will Wheaton had to say about it. Anyway, the concept of the Oasis is basically you live your entire life virtually, and the real world has sort of fallen apart and is in terrible condition, so everyone just wants to live on the quote-unquote oasis because it's an oasis. But I think that forgets this. Yes, you could simulate this, you could put this down at every little pixel detail, and you could be knocked out, put into the virtual world, and replaced right where you're standing, and you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. But then look at this, isn't this beautiful? This little Massachusetts town on the edge of a lake, and there's cranes and geese and life all around, and it's nice. And I think it would be hard to let go of that as a person who's grown up here. So basically what I'm saying is that I'm not a fan of virtual realities as a place to live. I would definitely go to work in a virtual reality. If instead of having to drive to a commute, I could go and like work in a virtual environment, but I don't want to ever make that where I permanently exist and not be able to go back or ruin the world to be able to do so. I want the option to go back and forth. So what I invariably wind up at is I'm far more in favor of, say, the cyborg camp, augmenting our current experiences with technology and tools. So things like Google Glass are very interesting to me, although the technology is still young and it's gonna have some troubles to go through, but it's children. The Google Glass version 5 or 10 or 15 or somewhere down the line is very, very promising to me. It's gonna take quite a while to get there. We're gonna have social, ethical, all sorts of interesting and different issues surrounding it, but I feel like it's the best way to go. Side note, I don't know if you can see it, but there's one of the white swans I was talking about. Its head is like underwater. Oh, wait, see? It's a little swan. How cute. Basically, the gist of it is I find that total immersive virtual reality is far more off-putting than trying to figure out the details of something like a Google Glass. And I think ultimately this ties back into our discussion from a couple of weeks ago where we talked about death and destruction and how I'm not comfortable with downloading my brain into a computer because I can't be guaranteed that that brain is me. And that's just one logical step away from that, which opens an entirely different can of worms. Maybe I'm gonna wind up being that crummy old man who won't download his brain into a computer or won't use the virtual reality for everything, and I'll be alone in some sort of futuristic wasteland. I highly doubt that. I really don't think I'm gonna be alone in this issue. I think a lot of us who were born in this sort of transitional time frame are gonna be running into that. So this is something I think as a society we are going to have to tackle over the next 100 years. And I will be extremely interested to see how it all plays out. But luckily for people like me, we won't have to worry about it for quite some time. So, I think that's gonna be all I want to say on this issue. I need to go inside and go to a class. So have a lovely time the rest of your week, and I will see you next Monday. Bye!